Hello, friends. Today I'm going to talk about productivity. This week is going to be dedicated to personal development and work development, which is a combination of both. Now, generally, when we talk of productivity, we are always talking about it with reference to our work. What we do in office, what we do when we are on the job, what we do when we are on the road, various things, but it's always related to work. But in reality, at least I believe that being productive is a very conscious attempt and effort put in by us to optimize everything we do, our whole life, whether it is work or personal. So productivity is not just about work. But having said that, in today's episode, I am going to focus on being productive and improving your productivity at work. And yes, I will definitely also speak in a separate episode some other time when I'm doing something on personal development of how you can be more productive in your personal life. So let's jump into it and see how we can become more productive, how we can improve our productivity at work. Fortunately, as with most things in life, being more productive is also something that you can train yourself to become. There are certain habits, there are certain mindsets which you will need to adapt to become more productive. And I think the first one that I would like to point out here is do less, but choose well. Whatever you are doing, make sure that it is important enough to do and do it well. So once you follow this doctrine, it is the first step and a very critical step to being far more productive than you can think of. When I say do well, it comes from personal experience that if you do something badly and you have to sit and correct it, very often my experience has told me that that correction takes far more time than doing that thing properly in the first place itself. So choose well. That is very important because you don't want to be stuck with tasks that are unimportant, which would delay other important tasks. So choose well and do it rightly is very important. I think the second most important thing that I have learned in life is to look at procrastination in a healthy way. Yeah, I'm sure you wonder, how is procrastination healthy? So procrastination is that inner urge that you get not to do something. So when something like this happens, by and large, we have been trained, we have been taught and led to believe that procrastination is a very evil thing and that you're wasting your time, you're wasting your life, you're not doing anything worthwhile, blah, blah, blah. But if procrastination, taken the right way, is actually a healthy and useful tool. So how is it healthy and useful? When you have that urge not to do something, I think the first step you should do is to not be judgmental on yourself and become harsh critic of your own self. But take that opportunity to switch to something. Not that I'm suggesting switching all the time is a great thing. I will be coming to that a little later. but switch to something that is more interesting, that is more enjoyable for you to do. This will recharge you, it will refresh your mind. And then when you go back to the task that you procrastinated from, you will do it with much better vigor and far more interest and enthusiasm. So, procrastination is not bad, and change your mindset about it. I know we've been told all our lives, even when I'm today at my age, there are people who tell me procrastination is bad. Well, I listen from this here, take it out from the other, because I think I have learned over the years a better way to address procrastination than by cursing myself all the time. Another important thing, and I do this very consciously all the time, is to build a work routine. Build a work routine starting from the morning. There is a morning ritual you will follow, which mainly is personal, taking care of yourself and various things, brushing your teeth, having a shower, blah, blah. But once at work, once you start doing your work for the day, also try to follow a routine. The advantage of following a routine is that it becomes a habit. And therefore, those things, those timings you will follow. And once you follow those timings and use them judiciously, you will automatically become more productive. But what you have to remember is that during these times, during the routine that you have set up, you need to be distraction free. All of us, it's very easy to get distracted, especially in today's world. What with the cell phones around you, what with your laptop buzzing with emails and messaging you about new emails. It's difficult to stay on focus, but you need to stay on focus. You need to push yourself during these work routines and shun other thoughts from your mind, except that task that you are doing. You do this, and your work routine is going to make you very, very efficient. And you need to understand the difference and differentiate between urgent and important. All urgent work is not important. And very often, urgent work comes because that important task may not have been done on time. So learn to distinguish between urgent and important. Some of the important works may become urgent. A colleague didn't do it on time. A colleague fell ill and therefore could not attend to it. There are various reasons, justifiable, not justifiable, but you need to differentiate. And of course, needless to say, urgent and important automatically go to the top of the list. I follow the routine of making or going through my to-do list the night before. I prioritize it. And depending on the time available, I decide what tasks I will do based on the combination of urgency and importance. And then I stick to it. And very often, I use time blocking because I have learned in life that for any task, it will be filled with work for the entire amount of time you have to complete and submit the task. So if a task requires 2 hours, but you are given 4 hours, you will still, in spite of all that, be working on the task 15 minutes before the due date or the due time. That's human nature. That happens all the time. So you use time blocking, saying, okay, this time I am putting for this task and I will do that no matter what. Another thing is determine your productive cycle. Like when I was studying, I found out that I was more productive at night. Not that it's a very healthy habit. You tend to snack, you tend to have extra coffee, whatever. But I found I was more productive. And therefore, I set up my productive cycle based on that. So determine your productive cycle and time your tasks so that you do them during those productive times. Okay. Use those time slots to do what we call deep work, something that requires tremendous focus, something that requires absolute concentration. Do your deep work during those times. You will give it the best that you have. Experience tells me that these time slots are small to begin with, what with the distractions we have, but even then. But you need to follow this routine, keep increasing, start small, keep growing, as always in many of the things that we do in life, and track your progress and validate that your productive cycle is as you have defined them. Use self-created tools to make sure that you stay focused. Like when I don't run nowadays, but when I used to run regularly to stay fit, I had this simple way of making sure I stay focused on that task. If I don't run in the morning, I cannot have a drink in the evening. Penalize myself. You need to do something like that so that you stay focused. I know a friend of mine who used to keep 5, 7, 10 checks ready, written for small amounts, 100 rupees, 150 rupees or something. But he used to keep them signed and ready. And he would give it to his neighbor or his colleague or somebody with whom he sits for lunch, saying that, okay, I'm working on this task. If I don't finish it by tomorrow lunchtime, here's the check. You can encash it and do what you want with it. It worked. I'm telling you, it worked very well. So the self-imposed penalties, so to say, so that you finish the task as required and on time. To have motivation to do a task, you need to find a reason for doing it. And if you can't find a reason, create one. But create one and then forget that you have created it. Let that reason for completion of the task be your motivation to get the task done on time. Another big drain in today's time on your productivity is meetings. And for some reason, over the past many years, rather, those meetings have become a whole day's work, so to say. Control the meetings that you need to attend, that you should attend. Even if invited and you feel that it's not really that you need to do that and you have more important tasks to do sitting back on your desk. Gently explain and refuse to go to the meeting, but don't make meetings your whole life. So control the number of meetings. As I just mentioned some time back, with the cell phones and laptops on and email messages coming to you even when you're doing something, it's a big distraction. So shut off your email, shut off your pop-ups for your email. Don't check your WhatsApp or SMSs. Don't check your phone all the time. Slot it out. So, okay, in the morning from 10 to 10:30 or 11, depending on what kind of work you're doing, I will check my mail and my messages and respond to them. Don't be available online all the time, because it hampers your productivity in a big way. I don't know if you have experienced it, but I have constantly experienced that if I get distracted when I'm doing something, When I get back to continuing with the task, I spend a few minutes, sometimes as much as 10 minutes, to really get back to the point I was at. You don't want that kind of distraction, do you? 10 minutes is a lot of time. In fact, it could be the time required to do certain tasks. While working, and this is also with not just about productivity and keeping your mind alert, but also for health reasons, get up and take breaks, strategic breaks, every sometime while doing a task. But when you take those breaks, don't go and gossip with a colleague. You might lose track of time. Gossiping is not a good habit in any case. You will waste your energy gossiping. Okay. Instead, take a short walk, just 2 minutes, 3 minutes. It's great for your health and it gives you the required break to come back rejuvenated to continue doing your task. For doing your routine work, create a process. For all you know, there may be a process already created in the organization. Follow that. If you find there is scope for improvement, which is justified, talk to your manager, talk to your colleagues, and see if that improvement can be incorporated into the process. But to begin with, trust the process and follow it. It's going to help you to perform better and in a set format without making errors. For people who are senior up, delegate or outsource. Don't try to do everything yourself. It is not possible. We've talked about delegation just, I think, in the last episode. Learn to delegate. Delegate because, I think I gave an example at that time, if you can do something in 1 hour, if you spend 1 hour once training your team to do that, then if there are 10 of them, you'll get 10 of those things done in the same 1 hour the next time. So you delegate or outsource. And this is a very important thing. What I'm telling you next is before starting a task, put on your thinking cap. Figure out the process, figure out what you require to do the task and complete it successfully and on time. Determine the kind of focus and energy you have to put in to get that task done. And then allocate that focus, energy, and the time. Do not get distracted. And yes, when allotting the time, do not keep unjustified buffers. Because those buffers at the end of the day, because you have allotted the time, your task is going to completely use that time up, even if not necessary. Or if you finish the task, you are going to use that buffer to go and faff around. So follow the simple habits. Now, there are some red flags I would like to mention when it comes to improving your productivity. I have seen a lot of times that people, I have seen my colleagues do it, who feel very accomplished at the end of the day because they have done 10 different things which they have completed. But then when we sit and talk, and I ask for certain things that were due to me on that day, I find they've not been done. So don't feel a false sense of accomplishment, but make sure, check that the tasks you're doing, the many of them or the few of them are the ones that were important and that really needed to be attended to on that day. Another task is, I have been told myself that don't keep focusing on the same thing. You will lose focus, you will lose interest at some time. While this is true to a certain extent. And that's why I suggested taking strategic breaks and doing a 2 or 3 minute walk around the place. I found that switching tasks all the time is detrimental to improved productivity. For the same reason that I mentioned a little earlier, that to get back to that point, you're going to have to take a few minutes, whether it is 2 minutes or 10 minutes, but this 2 or 10 minutes could have been added to time for the task rather than the time to get back to it. So switching tasks is not a great idea. And just like switching tasks is not a great idea, multitasking is also not a great idea for the same reasons. Though I have met so many people who think multitasking makes them do more. Trust me, and I have proved it to some people, that is not the case. So multitasking is not good for the same reason as you should not be switching between tasks. As I said a little earlier, remember that the work for the task will fill up the entire time that is allocated for it. And you will still be firefighting quite often at the end of the time frame when you have to submit the task. So don't keep buffers, as I said, and make sure that you do the task efficiently. Even if it gives you spare time, take up another task. I'm sure your work is never going to get done. I think we all know this by now. So if there is work is never going to get done, there's always something for you to do when you save time on a task. And do not for even a second ever believe that there is only one right way to do a task. That is completely wrong. Having said this, I think you're now ready to start becoming more productive. A lot of times your productivity depends on your co-workers. They lose track of things, they don't deliver in time, and you are stuck without getting what they were supposed to do. They fail to capture ideas and clarify in the beginning, and then they go on the wrong track. They don't prioritize everything properly. They end up doing urgent things and not the important things. Everything is related to what we just talked of. Or two people give a guy a task, and that guy doesn't know what to do first. There are solutions to all of this. Clarify it. If you are given two tasks, go to talk to both the people who have given you the task and make sure that you have got them prioritized right. As a manager, this is my final point to you. As a manager, make sure that your team understands that they have the right to say no to you if you are giving them a task which is going to eat into their schedule, which is well marked and important. So you need to understand. Follow the small, simple ideas, if I may call them that, and your productivity will soar. You will be happy yourself, you will be contented, you will get a true sense of accomplishment. Your team will be happier because things are moving on schedule, you are delivering on schedule. The whole organization is happier and makes much better progress. So start being more productive. See you in the next session. Thank you. Bye-bye.